That perfect bike sitting in your garage? It might already be failing, quietly, behind the chrome. No recall, no warning, just small problems waiting to cost you thousands. In 2025, even the most trusted motorcycles hide design flaws, fragile parts, and breakdowns baked right into the engineering. Most riders won't find out until it's too late. These are 15 motorcycles with hidden failures nobody ever tells you about, starting with a machine that looks bulletproof on paper, but hides a flaw so frustrating it's driving owners away faster than the bike itself can run. At number 15, the Yamaha MT-07. They said the MT-07 was perfect for beginners. Affordable, fun, reliable, the full package. Until the road gets rough, then it starts bouncing like a cheap trampoline. Yamaha's biggest hit has one flaw nobody wants to admit. Its suspension ages faster than the riders do. The MT-07 uses a basic, non-adjustable front fork and a cheap rear shock. For casual city riding, it feels fine, but after a few thousand miles, especially under heavier riders or those who ride aggressively, the suspension starts to lose its damping ability. The result? A bike that begins to feel bouncy and vague in corners, especially over uneven pavement. In 2025, this has become a known issue across forums and dealerships. Yamaha hasn't changed the setup much since 2014, even though the rest of the market has moved on. Competitors like the Kawasaki Z650 and CF Moto 700 CLX offer more refined stock suspensions out of the box. The MT-07 still delivers great engine character. That 689 cubic centimeter CP2 parallel twin is legendary for a reason, but its suspension holds it back. Even worse, once the fork seals begin to wear, oil leakage can show up early, forcing owners to pay for rebuilds much sooner than expected. The fix? Aftermarket suspension upgrades, but that adds hundreds of dollars to a bike meant to be budget-friendly. The Yamaha MT-07 remains an excellent motorcycle for daily use, but it's hiding a failure in plain sight, a suspension setup that doesn't age well and turns a great chassis into a tiring one after a few thousand miles. And if you think that's frustrating, the next bike's hidden issue is even worse. It's a premium model whose electrical gremlins are turning dream rides into repair bills. At number 14, the Triumph Trident 660. It looks premium, feels premium, until the lights start flashing like a Christmas tree. The Triumph Trident 660 might be the cleanest entry into British motorcycling, but beneath that shine, its electronics are quietly falling apart. One ride, it's perfect. The next, it won't even start. Since its release, multiple owner reports from the UK, US, and Australia have pointed to a pattern of electrical and sensor-related malfunctions. The most common issue? The bike suddenly throws up warning lights, traction control, check engine, and ABS. Even when nothing's actually wrong, dealerships often trace this back to faulty connectors or moisture seeping into wiring harnesses, especially around the handlebar switchgear and TFT display area. It doesn't stop there. Some Trident owners have faced intermittent starting problems where the bike refuses to fire up after sitting for a few days, often traced back to the immobilizer system. Triumph quietly updated certain parts under warranty, but there's been no official recall, meaning many owners are paying for diagnosis and repairs on a bike that's barely a year or two old. What makes this worse is that the Trident targets new riders, the last people who want to deal with random tech issues. A simple, reliable bike should inspire confidence, not cause anxiety every time a warning light flashes. And while Triumph's triple engine is buttery smooth and fun, it's frustrating when the electronics around it start acting up for no clear reason. Aside from the electrical quirks, the Trident is still one of the best handling middleweights out there. Light, nimble, and surprisingly comfortable. But the growing number of reports about moisture-sensitive electronics and inconsistent dealer fixes have definitely hurt its image. The Triumph Trident 660 proves that even a beautifully built bike can be let down by invisible issues you can't predict, until they leave you stranded. And while Triumph's gremlins hide behind premium styling, the next motorcycle's failure is far more mechanical. It's a design flaw that literally shakes riders apart on long trips. At number 13, Royal Enfield Himalayan 450. The bike that was supposed to save Royal Enfield's reputation. Stronger, smoother, more advanced. On paper, it fixed everything riders hated about the old Himalayan. But once the miles start piling up, a darker truth emerges. This new engine isn't just buzzing, it's boiling. Owners are discovering vibration and heat issues so bad, the modern upgrade feels like a step backward. Royal Enfield designed the new 452 cubic centimeter liquid-cooled engine to finally bring the brand into modern adventure territory. On paper, it works. 40 horsepower, 40 newton-meters of torque, and a 6-speed gearbox make it sound like a perfect middleweight explorer. But once riders started logging serious miles, reports began to pile up about vibration through the bars and pegs at highway speeds and overheating during slow, off-road climbs. Dealers initially brushed it off as normal character, but many owners disagree. Riders have shared videos of mirrors shaking so badly that visibility disappears above 70 miles per hour. Others complain that the heat from the radiator and engine casing becomes uncomfortable during long rides, especially in warm climates. While liquid cooling helped performance, it also introduced more complexity and more potential points of failure, including fan relay and thermostat sensor faults that are now appearing in some early 2025 units. Adding to the problem, some owners have reported gearbox stiffness that worsens once the engine warms up, suggesting that thermal expansion and clutch tolerances weren't fully sorted before production. Royal Enfield has since issued service advisories in India and Europe, but not an official recall. None of this means the Himalayan 450 is a bad motorcycle. It's still rugged, comfortable, and great for slow adventure touring. But that smooth new engine everyone celebrated, it hides a rough side that shows up with real-world miles. The Royal Enfield Himalayan 450 reminds riders that even all new doesn't always mean all fixed. Sometimes the upgrades just move the problem somewhere else. If you don't want to waste thousands fixing the wrong bike, hit subscribe. We break down the truth no dealer will ever tell you. At number 12, Ducati Multistrada V4S. It's the touring dream, a $28,000 masterpiece packed with radar cruise, adaptive suspension, and an engine so smooth it feels supernatural. But that dream comes with a nightmare price tag. Beneath all that brilliance hides one of the most expensive failures in modern motorcycling: valve and oil issues that quietly bleed owners dry long before the adventure ends. Ducati marketed the V4 Gran Turismo engine as a major step forward, with a claimed 37,000-mile valve adjustment interval, practically unheard of for a performance motor. The promise was less maintenance, more reliability. However, riders have begun to discover that this long service claim doesn't always hold true. Some Multistrada V4 owners are finding valve clearance issues as early as 15,000 to 20,000 miles, particularly in hotter climates or for riders who tour aggressively. Dealerships often handle these quietly, adjusting valves early under warranty, but the labor time is massive. Even a basic check can cost more than $1,000 US. Out of warranty owners, they're facing bills upward of $2,000 to $2,500, depending on location. Ducati hasn't admitted a design flaw, but the pattern is clear enough that rider forums across Europe and the US are filled with similar stories. Then there's the oil consumption issue. Some Multistrada V4S units are burning oil faster than expected, around 400 to 600 milliliters per 1,000 miles, forcing riders to top off between long trips. Ducati's official response: it's within tolerance. But for a bike that costs over $28,000, many owners find that hard to accept. The rest of the bike remains stunning. The ride quality is sublime, the electronics are smooth, and the comfort is unmatched. But those high running costs and unpredictable maintenance schedules are a hidden burden most buyers never see coming. The Ducati Multistrada V4S is proof that even top-tier engineering comes with trade-offs. Sometimes the price of perfection shows up not on the spec sheet, but in your service invoice. And if Ducati's hidden failure drains wallets, the next bike hides a problem that slowly drains something even worse: rider confidence, thanks to a front-end flaw that feels fine until it suddenly doesn't. At number 11, the KTM 390 Adventure. It's been praised for years as the perfect lightweight explorer. Traction control, ride modes, TFT display, and that punchy single-cylinder engine. But owners are discovering a flaw no spec sheet warned them about. At speed, that freedom turns twitchy. The front end starts to wander, the bars shake, and confidence disappears. It's not the motor, it's the steering and suspension setup that feel loose, vague, and unpredictable when it matters most. When it first launched, the 390 Adventure was celebrated for how flickable it felt. But after a year or two on the road, many riders noticed the front end feeling vague or twitchy at higher speeds. This isn't just a comfort problem, it's a confidence issue. The root cause lies in a combination of factors: lightweight front forks that flex under braking, uneven fork damping from the factory, and in some early models, poorly torqued steering head bearings. These small details add up to a front end that feels nervous on highways and unpredictable on loose terrain. To make things worse, KTM's recommended tire pressures don't always suit real-world conditions. Riders who lower pressures for off-road comfort often make the problem worse. The already soft fork geometry exaggerates the wobble. Even after multiple software and suspension updates over the years, the issue continues to appear in 2025 models, especially under heavier riders or with added luggage weight. Dealers often fix this by retorquing the steering head or replacing fork oil early, but that's not an ideal answer for owners expecting ready-to-race quality. And while the rest of the bike performs brilliantly, the engine is punchy, the ABS works well, and fuel economy is stellar, that unpredictable front end turns long rides into guessing games. Some riders have tried aftermarket fixes: stiffer fork springs, steering dampers, or heavier fork oil. These help, but at additional costs. The irony is that the 390 Adventure remains one of the best beginner ADV bikes in theory, just not in stability. The KTM 390 Adventure hides its flaw in plain sight, a front-end weakness that takes time to appear but can shake rider confidence faster than any engine problem. And while KTM's issue rattles your hands, the next motorcycle hides a failure that hits your back, a design that makes comfort look optional and pain almost guaranteed. At number 10, the Harley-Davidson Sportster S. It looks like a muscle bike built for freedom, brutal, low, and dripping with attitude. But the longer you ride it, the truth hits harder than the torque. This bike isn't freeing you, it's fighting you. The forward controls, low seat, and harsh rear suspension turn every bump into a punch. It's fast, loud, and stunning to look at, but physically punishing to live with. The biggest hidden failure isn't mechanical, it's ergonomic design. The Sportster S's combination of forward foot controls, low 28.9-inch seat height, and long reach to the handlebars forces the rider into a stretched out position. For short rides around town, it feels fine, but after an hour on the highway, riders start reporting back, shoulder, and wrist pain. Taller riders struggle even more. The forward pegs force them into a C-shaped posture that makes long-distance riding almost impossible. Harley tried to sell this as a sport cruiser hybrid, but the suspension tuning didn't help either. The 43mm Showa upside-down forks are solid, yet the rear monoshock has only 2 inches of travel, which means every pothole feels like a punch to the spine. Even at the softest preload setting, it's harsh enough that some owners have called it unrideable on rough city roads. Then there's heat. The Revolution Max engine is liquid-cooled, but that doesn't mean cool running. After 20 to 30 minutes in traffic, both exhaust headers radiate serious warmth, and riders report leg discomfort, especially in summer climates. Combined with a small 3.1-gallon fuel tank and awkward pillion setup, the Sportster S ends up being a bike that looks long-distance capable but barely tolerates a weekend trip. To Harley's credit, the engine itself is phenomenal. It pulls hard, revs freely, and makes the Sportster S feel like a muscle bike. But all that power is wasted when most owners can't ride more than 60 minutes without fatigue. Dealers have been hearing similar complaints for over a year, especially from riders trading in traditional Sportsters for this modern version. Harley's response has been to offer optional comfort seats and peg relocation kits, but those are patch solutions, not fixes for the core design flaw. The Harley-Davidson Sportster S hides its failure behind its beauty, a stunning bike that punishes its own riders. It's one of the few motorcycles that looks aggressive but rides like a workout machine. And if the Sportster's pain hits your back, the next motorcycle hides a different kind of ache, one that hits your wallet, thanks to constant part replacements nobody warned you about. At number 9, the BMW S1000XR. It looks like the perfect hybrid, sport bike speed with touring comfort. But give it a year, and that dream starts to buzz. Literally. The same razor-sharp engine that makes it thrilling on day one slowly shakes the bike and its owner apart. Underneath all that German precision lies a vibration problem so persistent it eats through bolts, brackets, and patience, turning long-distance joy into slow, mechanical misery. On paper, it's hard to fault. The 999 cubic centimeter inline-4 engine produces 165 horsepower and 84 pound-feet of torque, basically a superbike engine tuned for the road. It accelerates hard, corners beautifully, and feels rock solid at high speed. But that same high-strung engine design brings with it vibration levels that are far beyond what riders expect from a touring motorcycle. Owners across Europe and the US have been reporting persistent bar and foot peg vibration that creeps in around 5,000 to 7,000 revolutions per minute, right where the bike sits during normal highway cruising. Over time, this causes numbness in the hands and feet, even with BMW's factory-installed bar weights and rubber mounts. Some riders have even replaced bar ends, mirrors, and mounts multiple times because the vibrations slowly loosen hardware and wear down components. What's more frustrating is that BMW has addressed this issue several times with minor updates, engine balancing tweaks, different mounts, and even redesigned handlebars. Yet the problem still lingers in 2025. Riders who buy this bike expecting comfort quickly realize it's more sport bike than tourer. Adding to the pain, those same vibrations tend to accelerate wear on smaller parts like fairing mounts, mirror stems, and luggage brackets. A few riders have even reported cracks in their pannier supports after heavy touring use. While not dangerous, it's costly, and parts from BMW are anything but cheap. Then comes the heat issue. The XR's inline-4 runs hot, especially in traffic. Combined with the aggressive fairing design that traps air around the legs, many riders find summer riding almost unbearable. It's not a reliability problem, it's a comfort one, but it's enough to make owners reconsider using it for daily commutes. BMW built the S1000XR to be an adventure sport bike, but that high-performance DNA ends up being its undoing. Riders looking for comfort and long-distance calm end up getting an endurance test instead. To be fair, the XR's handling and braking are among the best in the class, and for short, fast rides, it's thrilling. But for those chasing effortless miles, it's a wolf in sport touring clothing, one that demands constant attention and maintenance. The BMW S1000XR hides its failure behind performance, a masterpiece of engineering that punishes riders in small, expensive ways. And while BMW's problem buzzes through your bones, the next motorcycle hides a more modern nightmare, a tech system that's so advanced, it sometimes forgets how to actually work. At number 8, Kawasaki Ninja 1000 SX. The Kawasaki Ninja 1000 SX has built a strong reputation as a near-perfect sport tourer, powerful, practical, and packed with value. But under its refined exterior hides a flaw many riders don't realize until months of ownership: unreliable fueling and jerky throttle response that turns smooth rides into awkward ones. At first, the 1043 cubic centimeter inline-4 engine feels silky and responsive, but once you start commuting or cruising at low speeds, the throttle becomes twitchy, especially in the lower gears. The culprit? Kawasaki's overly sensitive ride-by-wire mapping combined with inconsistent fueling between eco and sport modes. On bumpy roads, even tiny wrist movements can cause the bike to surge or lurch forward, not ideal for a bike marketed as a long-distance comfort sport bike. Owners have been posting about this since the 2020 refresh, and even the 2025 version still carries the same complaint. Kawasaki hasn't fully solved it, and riders who expected smooth, predictable control often find themselves frustrated. For touring, that snappy throttle makes steady speeds and slow maneuvers unnecessarily tiring. Another subtle problem is heat buildup. On long summer rides, the Ninja 1000 SX funnels exhaust heat straight to the rider's inner thighs, making traffic conditions miserable. Combined with firm seat padding and limited airflow around the fairings, it's not the kind of discomfort you'd expect from a $13,500 sport tourer. Everything else about the bike is great. The engine is bulletproof, the electronics are modern, and the handling is sharp. But that combination of touchy fueling and poor heat management is a constant reminder that refinement matters just as much as power. The Kawasaki Ninja 1000 SX hides its flaw in the fine print. It's a smooth tourer that doesn't always feel smooth. And if Kawasaki's problem is in how it rides, the next bike's failure is in how it's built. A touring model that's literally shaking itself apart faster than owners can fix it. At number 7, the Suzuki V-Strom 1050DE. It's the adventure bike everyone calls bulletproof, but ride it hard, really hard, and the truth starts to rattle, literally. Beneath that rugged reputation, bolts begin backing out, frames start creaking, and what once felt solid slowly shakes itself apart. The farther you go, the looser it gets. A hidden flaw that turns reliability into routine maintenance. The issue seems to come from the bike's design. The 1050DE's chassis is solid overall, but the rear subframe, which supports both the seat and luggage rack, isn't as robust as it should be for long-distance loads. When riders add panniers, top boxes, and passengers, the stress amplifies over rough terrain. After several thousand miles, bolts begin to loosen, especially around the rear fender and rack mounts. Dealers in North America and Europe have quietly been addressing this by applying stronger thread-locking compounds and recommending more frequent torque checks, but Suzuki hasn't issued an official bulletin. Some owners who didn't catch it early ended up with cracked mounts or damaged paint from movement between components. To make matters worse, the stock suspension setup, tuned for comfort, tends to bottom out under heavy luggage, adding more stress to those same points. It's not catastrophic, but it's the kind of hidden durability issue that makes long-term ownership more expensive and nerve-wracking. Mechanically, the bike is still as reliable as ever. The 1037 cubic centimeter V-twin is proven, smooth, and easy to maintain, but riders who bought it expecting bulletproof touring are finding that reliability isn't just about engines, it's about the small details holding the bike together. The Suzuki V-Strom 1050DE hides its weakness deep in its structure, a bike that can take you across continents, but asks for a wrench more often than you'd expect. And while Suzuki's bolts are backing out, the next motorcycle hides a flaw that hits even sooner, a machine whose clutch setup is burning out far faster than riders can adjust. At number 6, Honda Africa Twin CRF 1100 LDCT. It's the adventure bike everyone swears by. Smooth, tough, unstoppable, until it isn't. Beneath that flawless reputation, Honda's dual clutch system is slipping, literally. Clutch packs are burning out early, and the software meant to make riding effortless is now confusing itself, turning the world's easiest tourer into a mechanical guessing game. Honda's DCT system is brilliant when it works. It uses two clutches that alternate between odd and even gears for lightning-fast shifts. The problem is that many riders, especially those who ride off-road or spend time in stop-and-go traffic, are burning through their clutch packs faster than expected. Some owners have seen slipping symptoms in as little as 10,000 to 12,000 miles, far earlier than a manual clutch would need service. The reason is subtle but costly. The DCT logic sometimes struggles with fine throttle control at very low speeds, such as crawling through mud, sand, or heavy traffic. It hesitates, then grabs too hard, slipping the clutches repeatedly. Over time, this creates extra heat and premature wear. Replacing the clutch pack isn't cheap, running around $1,000 to $1,400, depending on the dealer. Even more frustrating is the DCT's learning curve. The transmission adapts to rider style, but it can also forget its calibration after battery disconnects or updates. That means owners occasionally get jerky or unpredictable shifts until the bike relearns patterns, something that can take hundreds of miles. Everything else about the Africa Twin remains stellar: the suspension, the engine's balance, the comfort. But this hidden DCT issue is souring experiences for those expecting bulletproof Honda reliability. The Honda Africa Twin CRF 1100 LDCT proves that even smart technology can wear itself out trying to be too clever. And while Honda's clutch quietly slips away, the next motorcycle's problem is louder: a well-known superbike that sings beautifully until its gearbox starts grinding. At number 5, Aprilia RSV4 1100 Factory. It's a masterpiece built for the track. Razor sharp, explosive, and engineered like a race weapon. But here's the twist. This superbike breaks down doing the one thing it shouldn't: normal road riding. Beneath its perfection lies a fragile gearbox that grinds, slips, and fails long before the rider does. Owners have reported false neutrals, missed shifts, and occasional gearbox binding between second and third gear. Issues that shouldn't happen on a $25,000 motorcycle. Most of these reports appear after the bike crosses 8,000 to 12,000 miles, well past the break-in period. The common thread seems to be premature wear on the shift drum and selector forks, small but crucial parts that control how smoothly the transmission engages. Aprilia dealers acknowledge it quietly, and some have replaced transmission components under warranty, but there's been no recall or service campaign. The worst part? Even after repair, some owners report the problem returning after another few thousand miles. Mechanically, the rest of the RSV4 is solid. The V4 engine is thrilling, the electronics are world-class, and the suspension is track perfection. But when the gearbox starts missing shifts mid-corner, confidence disappears. It's a problem riders can't see coming. The bike feels flawless until suddenly it isn't. On top of that, parts availability is inconsistent. Aprilia's smaller dealer network means long waits for replacement components, sometimes weeks or even months. That's a painful experience for someone who spent superbike money expecting race-level quality. The Aprilia RSV4 Factory hides a serious flaw behind its perfection: an unreliable gearbox that undermines everything else it does right. And while Aprilia's transmission grinds down trust, the next motorcycle shows that even the simplest commuter bike can frustrate owners when cheap to run turns into impossible to fix. At number 4, Yamaha YZF-R3. It's the beginner's dream: light, forgiving, and built to last. Or so everyone thought. Because hidden inside that friendly twin is a flaw that slowly kills it from within. A weak oil system starving the engine long before most riders ever notice. The R3's 321 cubic centimeter parallel twin is a gem for its size. It revs freely, sounds sporty, and has minimal vibration for a small capacity bike. But many riders don't realize how sensitive the engine is to oil level and temperature. If oil drops even slightly below the mid-mark, common in daily commuting, the top end starts to suffer from limited oil pressure. This leads to early wear on the crankshaft bearings and cam lobes, which is rarely noticed until it's too late. The issue worsens in hot climates or during extended high-speed runs. Yamaha designed the engine for efficiency and compactness, but the small oil capacity means there's less thermal buffer than in bigger engines. Over time, this causes oil to break down faster, leading to metallic debris and bearing pitting. Mechanics who service R3s regularly have noted that bikes ridden aggressively on highways tend to show internal wear far earlier than expected, sometimes before 20,000 miles. Adding to the frustration, the bike gives almost no warning. There's no oil pressure gauge, just a simple warning light that often activates after the damage is already done. Riders who change oil late or use thinner blends, like 10W30 instead of 10W40, risk accelerating the problem even more. Otherwise, the R3 is as good as its reputation: agile, forgiving, and a great starter bike. But its longevity depends on meticulous oil checks and short service intervals. For a motorcycle marketed as low maintenance, that's not what new riders expect. The Yamaha YZF-R3 hides its failure behind its simplicity. It's an easy bike to ride, but an easy one to wear out if you're not careful. And while Yamaha's issue lurks under the oil cap, the next motorcycle's problem sits right where you feel it, in the seat, which turns long rides into a literal pain. At number 3, the Kawasaki Versys 650. It's the sensible choice. Smooth, efficient, built to last. But the longer you ride, the more it betrays you. Beneath that bulletproof reputation hides a comfort flaw so stubborn it's survived for over a decade. A seat and vibration combo that turns every long trip into a slow torture test. At first, you don't notice it. The upright ergonomics and soft seat foam seem perfect for commuting or weekend rides. But after an hour or two, the flaws become obvious. The seat's padding compresses quickly, creating hard pressure points that cause lower back and tailbone pain. On longer trips, even experienced riders report stopping just to stretch every 60 to 90 minutes. What makes it worse is that the engine's parallel twin vibration lines up exactly with that discomfort zone, around 4,000 to 5,000 revolutions per minute, right at highway speed. The seat and bars start to buzz. The vibration isn't catastrophic, but it's just enough to numb your hands and legs over time. Owners have tried everything from aftermarket bar weights to gel seat inserts, but even then, the issue never fully disappears. Dealers often recommend new seat foam or bar risers, but those are band-aid fixes. The real cause lies in Kawasaki's engine mounting design, which hasn't changed much since the early 2000s. The bike's reliability is unquestionable, but the ride comfort falls short of modern expectations, especially when competitors like the Yamaha Tracer 7 GT and Suzuki V-Strom 800DE feel smoother and more refined out of the box. For shorter rides, the Versys remains one of the best do-it-all machines on the market. But for touring, its combination of vibration and weak seat comfort is a quiet deal-breaker for many owners. The Kawasaki Versys 650 hides its failure in the one place you can't ignore, where you sit. It's proof that reliability means little when the ride itself wears you down. And while Kawasaki's flaw creeps in slowly, the next motorcycle's hidden issue strikes fast, a problem that can literally leave riders stranded miles from home. At number 2, Triumph Tiger 900 GT Pro. It's marketed as the do-it-all tourer, lighter, smarter, and smoother than its big brother. But beneath that polished adventure image lies a flaw riders are sick of pretending doesn't exist. Random stalling and fuel glitches that turn a $17,000 touring dream into a constant guessing game. Since the first 900 models launched, riders have reported random engine cutouts at idle or during low-speed clutch operation, often without any error codes. In 2025, even after multiple ECU updates, the issue still pops up. Triumph claims it's a fuel mapping calibration sensitivity, but that's a polite way of saying the bike sometimes can't decide how much fuel to feed at low throttle. The problem shows up when creeping through traffic, climbing steep parking ramps, or negotiating slow corners, moments when balance and throttle precision matter most. 1 second, the bike feels fine. The next, it stalls. Riders describe the sensation as sudden and unpredictable, forcing them to restart in awkward spots. It's not dangerous most of the time, but it's embarrassing and frustrating, especially on a $17,000 motorcycle marketed for reliability. Dealers have reflashed ECUs and replaced sensors, but no single fix works for everyone. Some owners even suspect issues with the ride-by-wire throttle sensors, which seem overly sensitive to minor wrist movement or vibration. The rest of the Tiger is excellent. The inline-3 engine is strong, the suspension is plush, and the ergonomics are top-notch. But when your ultimate road tourer can suddenly shut off in the middle of traffic, that confidence disappears fast. The Triumph Tiger 900 GT Pro hides its failure behind its sophistication, a polished motorcycle that forgets the basics of consistent fueling. And if the Tiger leaves riders guessing, the next bike's flaw doesn't ask questions. It simply fails, leaving even loyal fans speechless. And finally, at number 1, the BMW R1250RT. It's supposed to be untouchable, the gold standard of touring, smoother than air travel, and built to last a lifetime. But behind that luxury lies a flaw so costly, it's shattering BMW's perfect image. Failing shaft drives that turn ultimate comfort into a $2,000 breakdown waiting to happen. BMW's shaft drive system was once legendary for reliability, but in recent years, particularly with the 2023 to 2025 models, there's been a spike in final drive seal failures and spline wear. The symptoms start small, a little oil mist near the rear wheel, or a faint humming noise at steady speed. But if ignored, it can lead to full gear wear or bearing collapse. When that happens, the bike becomes unrideable. BMW has quietly acknowledged the problem by introducing new venting designs and inspection intervals, but they've stopped short of calling it a defect. Unfortunately, for out-of-warranty owners, a new final drive can cost over $2,000, and that doesn't include labor. Some touring riders report needing replacements under 30,000 miles. A shock, considering BMW's marketing once promised lifetime durability. Adding insult to injury, the problem is unpredictable. Some bikes run flawlessly for years, others fail in the first season. It's a quality control gray zone that's hurting BMW's image among its most loyal customers, the touring crowd that values reliability above everything else. Aside from this issue, the R1250RT remains incredible. The Boxer engine delivers smooth torque, the comfort is unmatched, and its handling defies its size. But that hidden weakness, the possibility of a final drive leak ruining a trip, is a dark cloud over an otherwise exceptional machine. The BMW R1250RT hides its failure deep within its drivetrain, a luxurious masterpiece that can leave you stranded in silence, waiting for a tow truck instead of soaking up the miles. And with that, one thing's clear: even the best motorcycles can hide their worst secrets, sometimes where you'd least expect them. Every bike here hides a story, but some do the opposite. They get everything right. If you want to see the motorcycles built for real comfort and zero regrets, check out our list of 17 perfect bikes for 2025 and hit subscribe.